some memories of them.
I'm going to stand up here. I don't know, is this on? Can you all hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
we can hear you.
First of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming. We were talking yesterday at our daughter's house, Casey, and how would today be? And I think she said the perfect word. She said, it's going to be a celebration because Mom or Irene or Nanan, whatever you called her, lived for almost 100 years, which is just astounding. And I just thought it might be kind of nice to maybe just break it up in sort of 10-year increments of what 100 years could be like. I don't know if all of you even know, but her and my dad Paul were actually born in Italy and both came over here as babies. So in the 1920s, Irene was just a kid, like a lot of our current grandkids. And you come to the 30s and she's a teenager and lived through the Depression, which obviously one of the hardest times in this country. So I came to understand just how strong-willed and how phenomenal work ethic Mom had, but I think that's when it started. Then the 40s, obviously you had the war, and then her and Paul met and got married in 46, and I came along in 47. My sister Janet came along in 49, and for those of you who didn't know, or don't know, or weren't told, Janet lives in Fredericksburg, Virginia now, and she's had some, not serious, but she has some health issues, and she's going to be having some surgery in a few days. So doctor's advisement was for her not to come up here. And so even though that upset her greatly, hey Rick, perfect timing. And we get into the 50s, and we lived in Ardmore. My Irene's parents lived with us. My grandfather died in the mid-50s. Then 1960-ish, my dad bought some ground and built his own house, the house on Malin Road. And many a weekend I was his crew. So that was an interesting time. 2 weeks after we moved into that house, Donna was born. So Paul, my father, moved my mother at 9 months pregnant into a new house, of which only the first floor was done. I mean, it had a lot more to go. By the way, at this point, kudos to Donna. She was responsible for arranging everything regarding Mom, and obviously did a phenomenal job. And Janet had a terrible case of guilt being in Virginia, not being able to help, and of course, me being a man, I'm in South Carolina, so I wasn't expected to do it except show up. Then we come up to the 70s. My grandmother, my mom's mom, lived with us for 20 years. She passed away when I was in college, so Mom took care of her extensively. And just to sidetrack a bit, Paul died 20 years ago this year, and much like Mom, incredible intellect, almost no education. After World War II, he was a day laborer when he started out with an engineering company and ended up being a construction superintendent and built buildings that you probably have seen or know. Harkham Library in Bryn Mawr, Ryder Library in New Jersey, Bryn Mawr Hospital. He built them. If he was doing that, expected to do that today, he'd at least have a master's in engineering. Phenomenal, smart guy, is just self-made man. So kudos to Dad. But that pretty much left Mom responsible for everything else. I'll fast forward here. So we get to reminiscing 20 years ago, 1996, you may have seen the note out there. Mom and Dad celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary along with my Aunt Clara and Uncle Vince, and some of their kids are here now. And Dad passed away a year later. So that was kind of the height of the celebration. And Mom was an iron-willed woman, but after Dad died, she started slipping more mentally than physically. Only lived in the house on Malin Road for another couple of years, and then she went into an efficiency apartment. We would go and pick her up, or I'd go and pick her up and bring her to, Christmas or Easter or whatever. And by this point, Mom, I think, really missed Dad and missed what she expected things to be. And one of her key phrases back then was, "Bob, no matter what they tell you, the golden years suck." That was her impression of it. Fast forward again, Mom's mental health really declined dramatically, starting about 10 years ago, and got to the point where she really, call it senility, dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever it was, her mind was pretty well gone. And I don't want to turn this into a sad occasion, but that's kind of what can happen to a lot of people when they get to that age. And I'll share one story that some of you have heard before, but probably about the last lucid moment Mom had with me that I can remember was right after I'd retired, and we had moved to South Carolina. We came back up here for the holidays. We went to see her. She didn't know who I was. I explained, but she was alert, so I explained who I was. My wife Kim was with us. I think Alexis, our daughter, might have been there. And excuse me. So she realized who I was, and she started talking to me. And she asked me what I did for a living. And I said, "I don't have a job." And then I went on to say, "I'm retired." I think the only thing she heard was, "I don't have a job." And her response, which many of you have heard, was, "Well, if you don't have a job, you're nothing but a bum." And I thought, what do you say to that? I mean, Mom, I didn't say anything, because in my head I'm thinking, Mom, I worked from when I was 13 years old. I worked for 50 years. I retired. But that was Mom. The work ethic, she did everything to run our family. To say she was just a housewife would be absurdly stupid. My dad worked 6 days a week. We never took vacations, but she ran the house. She ran the business while he earned the money. I feel like I probably lost her 10 years ago, but this is really the end now. So thank you.